What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for December 4th, 2022. It is Eagles game day, so get excited. Couple quick housekeeping things before we get into it. The United States lost their knockout round game yesterday, 3-1 against the Netherlands. Kind of what was to be expected with that team. I do think soccer overall is still growing in this country. They were a very young team, so for them all to get that World Cup experience will be huge in 4 years when the World Cup actually comes to the United States. So hopefully what they can do is use some of those qualifying matches, since they're going to automatically qualify. They can use that to really get sharp and pick the best guys. So I'm excited to see where they are in 4 years and what happens, but a tough one to lose. But like I said, they it's about where they are in the world. Like if you look at their rankings, that's basically their top 15, top 16. Like I don't even know what their ranking is, but I know they're just out of the top 10. So this is about what you'd expect. Big win for the Temple Owls. They won 83-73 over the VCU Rams. They should be getting ready to go into conference play. I think they have one more game against Penn, and then they open up the AAC slate. Flyers lost again 3-2 to the Devils. They again are hanging tough, but this is what we want as far as getting one of those top 3 draft picks. We talked a lot about tanking on Back to the Future this week, so be sure to check that out wherever you get your podcasts. But speaking of those Flyers, before we get into the Eagles preview, we're going to go back to 1996. The Flyers and the Rangers skated to a 1-1 tie up in New York. Eric Lindros scored the goal for the Flyers. It was his first goal of the season. He had just come back a few days earlier with a groin. He was out with a groin injury. But what they did when he came back, they kind of floundered along. They were sort of just like a 500 mediocre team, right? Kind of in the cusp of where the playoffs were. They dropped his first 2 as he was shaking some of the rust off, but then they caught fire when he came back. This game in particular was their 3rd game in a 17-game unbeaten streak. That included 4 consecutive shutouts at one point. They ended that season the 3rd seed in the East, rolled through the playoffs, and had high hopes going into the Stanley Cup Finals against the Red Wings, and then got swept out. I think because of the expectations, it was disappointing. However, what we could, with the benefit of hindsight now, we know that was the start of the Red Wings. I guess you could almost call them a dynasty. They won 3, I think, in 5 or 6 years. So that's when they had Yzerman, I believe Chelios, Fedorov. So a lot of those guys, this is when they were coming into their own. So at the time, it was disappointing. But again, looking back on it now, that Red Wings team was on the cusp of being something special. But still was disappointing, and I think this was the basic epitome of the Flyers of that time under Eric Lindros. Just getting right there and then not being able to close the deal. I read an article at some point as I was doing the research for this. It basically said that he was Cindy Crosby before Crosby was Crosby, only he was much bigger and faster than Crosby. It's hard to imagine, because we'd lived through all of the drama and the fighting between his parents and Bobby Clark, and just the injuries and everything. But this dude was a stud, and that is why the Flyers gave so much up to get him. There is going to be a future episode of Back to the Future on that coming down, because they gave up another all-world player, Peter Forsberg, who worked out pretty well for Colorado in the long run with that. But it's just reading some of the articles and going back and looking at this, it was just, I forgot just how good this guy was and how good he could have been if he had remained healthy. But on this day, back in 1996, the Flyers and the Rangers skated to a 1-1 tie. It was the 3rd of 17 consecutive games without a loss for the Flyers. They used that momentum. And if you notice a pattern the past couple days and past couple weeks on This Day in Philly Sports History, we're noticing the Flyers seem to, as a team, overall for in their franchise history play well in December, and they use that momentum to carry them into the playoffs. So on to the Eagles pick. I'm going to be heading down in a couple hours. Looking forward to that. On the season, we're 5-6. And as I mentioned earlier in the week, I'm looking forward to this game because I think it's going to be a good test for them. They are probably the most physical defense the Eagles have played. They're also a big punishing offense with Derrick Henry, and I don't know how this game is going to go. I mean, I could see it going one of three ways. I don't think either team gets a blowout. To be completely honest, I don't think either team. I think Tennessee's not built to blow anybody out necessarily, especially a good team like the Eagles. I also don't think the way that Tennessee team is physical, the Eagles are going to be able to beat them. I do look for A.J. Brown to have a big game in his revenge game, but I do see it's going to be hard to contain Derrick Henry. And I want to see if the defense is up to it. The spread on this game is starting to drop a little bit. I think it was 5 at one point, and now as of this morning, it's at 4. I still think that's too much to give the Titans, and I do think the Eagles win this game. I think they win by a field goal, and I don't know whether it's they win like it's 21-21 and they win 24-21, or they win like 20 to 19 or something. It's going to be within those three. So our official pick today is going to be the Eagles to win. However, Tennessee to cover the 4 points on the spread. So usually when I make those bets, the Eagles come out and blow them out. So hopefully we see the blowout and we're all excited. But I do think this is going to be one of the bigger games of the day. The Giants and Washington play. It should be a good game, as well as that Kansas City-Cincinnati game. I do, like I said, I think the Eagles win. I think A.J. Brown has a game. I think it's going to – it needs to come down to what our running offense is going to do. And they need, just like they did against the Packers last week, I want to see Miles Sanders having a game. I don't know if I necessarily need to see Jalen Hurts running as much as he did, but if they're going to give it to him, he might as well take it. And I think that was the key to that Packers game. They were giving him all of those rushing lanes. So if Tennessee gives him those rushing lanes, it should be a good, productive day for the offense to keep them on their toes. But Eagles to win, Tennessee to cover the 4 points. Looking forward to go down. Enjoy your Sunday. If you're coming down to the game, I'm in section 220. Come say hello. I know some of you that are listening actually will be going down to the game with me, so there's that. But go have yourselves a Sunday. Go Birds, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.